Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Circle podcast, where we connect Jewish job seekers and employers with resources, insights, and stories to help them build meaningful careers and teams. Today, we are joined by Dr. Menachem Feuer. He is the co-founder and director of operations at the Community Tech. It's a nonprofit organization that helps people in the Jewish community gain practical tech skills and launch their careers in the industry. And Menachem has over a decade of higher education experience creating and delivering curriculum at top institutions like York University, Ryerson, Waterloo, and Toronto. And Menachem brings this deep academic insight and real-world impact. So welcome, Menachem. Thank you so much for joining us. And please tell us a little bit more about yourself and the amazing organization that you created.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in academia for over a decade. I was there for a long time, and a friend of mine, Ron Schuster, who works in the tech sector. I remember one day I was in the park walking around with my family, and he was with his kids, and he came up to me and he said, "Menachem, I taught a free class for the Jewish community here in Toronto, and I got some people jobs. I taught them Cisco networking because he was into IT networking." And I said, "That sounds great." And he said, "Would you be interested in joining me in creating an entity that would help the Jewish community to train in tech and get jobs in tech?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds." I said, "That sounds really interesting because in my mind, it's very interesting because with education, like I teach in education. Actually, my background is in the humanities, not in tech. He's the tech guy on the humanities. So it's interesting for me because in the humanities, the important thing is to get people to think, to think about philosophy, to think about religion, to think about literature and culture, to become more critical thinkers, to be or understand the world that we live in, understand our history, understand these things, and become a better person through knowledge, and that's great. But the thing is, though, that in doing so, it's like it's a lot different from training people to get tech skills to get jobs. It's a different trajectory. I mean, my primary concern as an educator is was not to train people to get a parnasa to earn a living. But one of the things I thought with Ron is that this would be a great opportunity to take my educational skills and my background and understanding of education and critical thinking and bring that to developing an educational program. And I also develop curriculums in the university, even in high schools like the Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto. I developed their curriculum, so I'm very familiar with how to deliver a curriculum in a very effective way. And I thought to myself, this would be a great opportunity for me to help people and to take the education and to make it effective in such a way that people's, because I know I've seen the greatness that comes out of like teaching people how to get a skill and get a job. And there's like the kind of happiness in Hebrew was it simcha amiti, it's like a true simcha. It's not like so like at a party people like they put on airs like, oh, I'm so happy and this, but like this is a real happiness that comes from within because when you don't have a parnasa, when you don't have a living, you suffer, and not only you but
Yep.
your family. If you have a family, your children suffer, and it's a bad thing, and it's not the and it's like alleviation of suffering. It's like teaching a person a skill, giving them parnas, giving them a job opportunity, and the type of joy that comes out of there is very real. I teach in University of Waterloo. I still do that. I do enjoy teaching things new. I think we need to have more awareness and consciousness of things. It's very important, but this kind of consciousness is different because it's a consciousness of a skill about how to make a skill and how to present oneself in the industry and how to work in the industry and be successful in the industry. And it's a different trajectory, but it's just as important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that today, with all the changes we're seeing in the job market with AI, critical thinking and creativity become those essential human qualities that are not yet replaced by machines. So I think that bringing that, extra background that you have certainly will help also people learning skills and with today with employers being inundated with so many CVs telling your story in a compelling way becomes important in every job.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
see that a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, kudos. Yeah, I can really relate to that simcha that comes from helping people. We help a lot with newcomers in Canada and just seeing people start their life in a new place or after any type of transition. It's really incredible. So, can you talk us through a little bit around the main courses that are taught at the community tech, what is offered, how do you choose the topics, things like that?
Sure, absolutely. Before the community tech, we started the community tech. I ran a company called Adelig IT, and I still do. We're a service provider, and we always chose classes in tech that would be that were relevant in the market and there were jobs for. Like if you go to Indeedjobs.com and you do a search on, let's say, going back 10 years ago, and you did a search on Cisco networking, you would see all these jobs for Cisco networking or full stack development. Software developers were very big, not 7, 8 years ago, 6 years ago. And then after that, we started looking into like data. So data is very big today. So
Yeah.
what we do is we choose courses that are relative. Like that's why I did a delegate, and that's why I do the community tech. But the community tech we do also we add on to that. For instance, like bookkeeping, we QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a platform that a lot of people use today. Accountants use it, bookkeepers, everybody, companies use it, and it's good to know how to use that platform. Not just to be, you could be a bookkeeper for yourself. You could be private. You could work for companies. You could work for accountancies. There's a lot of options, and if you go to Indeedjobs.com, for instance, you do a search on bookkeeping and a QuickBooks, you get tons of hits. So we decided to teach, like for instance, we decided to do QuickBooks, and that
Hmm.
was a very popular class. We actually over enrolled. We had so many people that wanted to take the class. We had to like cut. We had to like literally stop the flow. And now the other thing that we do is data science and data visualization. Very important.
Hmm.
Like earlier, you were talking about storytelling is a very important skill.
Yeah.
That is the thing. Data, there's lots of data, and you could be really smart and you could have the skills to be able to analyze the data. That's all great. But you have to tell the people who run the company what's going on. You have to tell them a story about their company. Given this data, this is what's going on. This is the narrative. And it's very essential that they know that because without that narrative, they can't make decisions. Everybody, you
Yeah.
need to know what the story is. So that's what we teach: data analytics, data visualization, and data science. Data science, our course we're running right now, actually, we have one, and we're in the second part of an 8-month course, and that's dealing with machine learning and algorithms, which is connected to AI. This is
Hmm.
all AI is based on all large language models are based on machine learning. And that's
Yeah.
what we teach in our data science course. And the data visualization course is more for all types of companies. It's like you don't have to be an AI company. You don't have to be a company interested in AI. You should be a company that's interested in your data. Every single company has data.
Right.
Every single company, that's the guts of the company, so to speak. Like imagine like you're a person's like analogy, good analogy is like a doctor. If you go to a doctor and you feel inside, you feel something, you don't know what it is, and you're not going to find out what it is. You can guess, but a doctor will put you through a CAT scan or X-rays or different a battery of tests,
Yeah.
and will say and will give you a story about what's going on inside you, and will give you a prescription. So to feel better, or a certain regimen, or something, so activities that you need to do to feel better. So this is like what data visualization is like. So a person who understands a person who does data visualization will go to a company. We'll look at its data and we'll say, okay, this is what's going on inside of you.
Yep.
These are the problems. These are the things that you need to do to fix this in order to make more money or to save money. Like imagine like a company is wasting money. That's like imagine it's like a person being overweight. This is how you lose weight. This is
Yeah.
you don't need to be spending money over here. You should be spending money over here. This is where this is working according to the data that we have. This is we see a really good direction. So it's really important. People who are data analysts and data visualization people are very it's a very big market. If you go on Indeedjobs.com, there are hundreds of jobs in Toronto, for instance, just alone. There are people looking for junior people, for senior people, all types of people, all types of companies, because companies are
Hmm.
realizing that data is money. Data makes money. So
Yeah.
that's why it's really important.
Absolutely.
That's why we teach classes like that.
Yeah, I love the doctor metaphor for sure, and I think that From what I'm seeing, also, I'm pretty close to a lot of data analytics teams in large corporations. So certainly, the more executives and stakeholders get up the ranks, the further away they are from the ground, right, and from what's going on truly with customers. And data analysts and data scientists are the one connecting those executives to the reality of what's really happening, what's how their product is selling, how people are liking their product, and that will guide strategic decisions, particularly when the world of tech is changing so quickly. Um, and are these courses for people who already have experience in the industry, or complete novices can join? Who is it geared towards?
Well, it's an interesting thing, the people who take our kind of courses it's very interesting. A lot of people, they come with some kind of experience with business, with work, but it could be a person who has some experience or no experience whatsoever. We take them from zero to hero, so to speak. We take them through all the stages. But there are people, like I could tell, like in our current class that we have right now, we have people in different industries. They have different types of experience, and they see the value of data analytics and data visualization for what they do. So it could be you could be in a situation, you could be in different type of businesses, different types of jobs, different types of organizations, and see the value in that and upskilling. And on the other hand, there are also people who don't have any experience whatsoever come into the class. Like we have a guy who's like a 19-year-old kid, one of our students right now. He doesn't have any experience in that, but he is interested in coding. He likes gaming, he likes coding, he likes stuff like that. So he takes to this a lot, and he sees the value in it. Because he's already on computers all the time, so it's something that could be interesting for him. And it's a big thing if you're going to work with data, you're going to be in front of a computer a lot. That's a thing a person should take in consideration. We're in front of our
Yeah.
screens all the time, but you'd be thinking about data and how to categorize data, analyze data, how to clean data, how to visualize data.
Absolutely, yeah. It said that 80% of the work of an analyst is cleaning the data, making sure it's ready for analysis. So there certainly needs to be a match between someone's personality and interests and the course they take, for sure. So that example of the 19-year-old actually brings me to another question I wanted to ask you. If you have any inspirational story of a student, or that you want to share with us, that had a transformation, or had a positive outcome after being the community tech.
It's a really good question. It's interesting. We serve the Jewish community, all types, the whole spectrum, people who are religious, secular, everything, older, younger. And I remember we had a kid. Also, we had like a 19-year-old kid. He'd never been to high school. This is like he was raised in like a Hasidic kind of community. No high school, no skills training, nothing. Just went to yeshiva, came out, and he worked so hard. And I remember he had such a passion to, like, he felt like, I really need to do this. I really need to get these skills. We have a few of these stories, but I remember with him, his kid was Mendel. His name is Mendel, and Mendel worked incredibly hard, and had so much tenacity. He was so proactive. Like you could like look at him. Like when people are in a class and you see the look, like their attention,
Yeah.
you can tell who's paying attention. I mean, I've been a teacher for over a decade. I actually only like 18 years, and like I could tell you when a student is not listening, I could tell right away, just like when you're talking to a person. He was
Yeah.
always attentive, he had great projects, he did great work. So when we introduced him to an employer right away, the employer could say, wow, this kid who doesn't have a high school education, doesn't have any education whatsoever, is proactive, is interested, and is ready to act. And he
Yeah.
did. He not only did he do really well in the job he was in here in Toronto. He also got married and he moved to Baltimore, and he moved up to even a higher ranking job in cybersecurity. So
Very nice.
that's a very inspiring story. To this day, he called me before his wedding. He invited me to his wedding. He's like so happy. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to support a home and get married. That stuff really warms my heart. And
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, work ethic and motivation go a long way. So I think I would argue these are the main things that someone needs to get ahead. Um,
absolutely.
Another big audience that we have are newcomers to Canada. Many of them kind of in midlife already had a career. Do you see these types of people also being a fit for the courses?
Yeah, it's like we've just had some iterations where we had people who are in midlife, and it's interesting. I've had conversations with them because people who are in midlife, I'm like myself. I have a kid. I have one child is like 19, another 22-year-old kid. So it's an interesting phenomena because people are like, what am I going to do? My type of life, there are jobs out there for me. There's a lot of worries. There's a lot of concern because a person who's in midlife is thinking, oh, there's probably someone younger than me that could do a better job than me, or is quicker than me, or et cetera, more agile. So to those people, I'd say, no, you already have a lot of experience with you. You bring all of that experience, all of that work experience, all of that stuff with you. And that's you already built some kind of resume, and now you're adding on to those skills, you're upskilling. And when you upskill, you're building onto the scaffolding that you already have. And I
Mm-hmm.
think and we've seen it with a lot of people, but the whole thing is people in middle age, it's like, yes, you can get to that level, but the important thing is to be proactive. It's an interesting thing. Like when you're middle age, you've gone through a lot, you have your family, you've raised a family, let's say, or you've gone through a lot of work, but you have to say in your mind, okay, I've gone this far, I have these skills, and you have to continue being proactive. That's the important thing, is confidence, I think, for a lot of people. I think that's what I would say. And I say with a lot of people, it's like a psychological thing, is that you can do it, you can have the skills, you have a background, and you can do it. And I encourage those people and I see them thrive. I just have to, we have to stick with them. It's
Yeah,
important. And it's interesting
absolutely.
because today you have, on the one hand, you have kids, younger people, and then you have middle-aged people. Both of them, a lot of time, there's like a confidence issue,
Hmm.
because the young kids are just starting off, and
Yeah.
they're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get work? So it's like,
Yeah, in the newcomers, for them, they have had oftentimes a certain status, already a network in their home country. For us, it's typically Israel, right? A small
yeah,
country where, you have your connections running with you for so long and different milestones in life that are important. And here are maybe less regarded or completely unknown, right? And it's kind of starting from scratch.
that's right.
In many ways, it can be quite scary. And there's also the whole aspect of Canadian experience, right? That's kind of a sort of a myth, right? That we're trying to dispel, that a lot of the Canadian experience that companies are looking for is cultural fit, right? They want to know that you have the skills, but also that you know how to speak the language in the Canadian workplace. Which brings me to the next question, actually, where I know that you have connections with employers in the community, both Jewish, but also, large tech companies.
Yep.
So your graduates are getting some sort of assistance to be introduced into the market?
Yeah, we work with them. We work with different companies. We check in with companies, what's going on with them and what they're looking for. We try, even before we start courses, we try to speak with companies and set things up before the courses even start, so that we already have like possibilities. We have
Mm.
opportunities for students once they leave. So it's an interesting time that we're living in right now because of the economy. I know in Canada and the United States, there's a high inflation and there's a lot of problems, but there are companies that are interested and they know that they need to have data work, let's say, or bookkeeping for sure. These are necessities. Without these things, a company can't survive. So we do talk to companies. We have a few different companies that we are in conversation with. And yeah, and I'm constantly checking in with them to see what's going on and like where they're at. Again, it's like a life, like in October, it's one thing. What's it going to be like? What's it going to be like in February? How are things going to, well, things change. Things could get better. Things could get worse, but at
Yep.
least we have that relationship and we have to be honest, and we have to like say, okay, this is where they're holding. You can't, companies usually hire when there's a big boom. Like in the tech industry, a lot of people may or may not know this, but the tech industry, there was like a huge boom for a long time, and then there was a point where companies like Google and Facebook, Meta, and other companies were firing people like at like 10 to 15% of their
Yep.
workforce, shave off because they had spent and they overhired.
Hmm.
So now I think we're going to go back into another phase. The markets seems to be going. The tech market is going up. And
Yep.
definitely AI. All these stocks, things are starting to rise, even though there have been some hits. With the tariffs, for instance, in Canada against the United
Hmm.
States, the relationship between the United States and Canada. That's definitely affected a lot of companies. A lot of companies are very worried. The market, the American stock market's worried about that. but I think that all leveled out after Donald Trump said that he's going to have like a 10% standard tariff as opposed to a 25%. Although there are different tariffs in different industries in Canada that are still very high. Like I
Right.
think in steel and aluminum are still pretty high, you know. So, but that's not going to affect what we do, you know. That's because we're working in the tech
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah, I think that the reconciliation in tech regarding the workforce started during COVID, right? When it was quite clear, when the peak of uncertainty in March 2020, like who's needed and who's not, and a lot of companies who overhired. A lot in actually, I think non-tech roles suffered during the pandemic, but now with AI, tech roles starting to suffer as well. So, I think efficiency and productivity are really big, not only because that's what AI is helping us with, one of the main things right now, but also, it just makes those repetitive jobs.
Yeah, there.
We just need less people. So that's certainly something that we all need to think about in every line of work, right? How do we use AI for our benefit in a role and help use AI for us to become more productive, more efficient, bring in more value
Yeah.
and more impact to any organization that we work at, regardless of our line of work.
Yeah.
But certainly, I definitely see that like the festival of hiring everyone and like inventing, big titles has been over for probably 5 years. So I think we're coming with a little bit more resilience to this AI boom, specifically in tech. But certainly because we have the Circle business marketplace, I can see the types of jobs that are in demand and what people are asking for, and accounting is definitely at the top, because businesses need accountants, and in Canada we have, as I said, a lot of our newcomer community. Taxes in Canada is new for them. They certainly need that accountant or the bookkeeper for the personal finances. So I definitely see that as one of the top professions being requested.
Absolutely.
And a lot of skills and trades also are on the rise. But with tech, still there's a lot of I see demand for the traditional jobs, but more and more employers are looking for those unicorns, right? That one person that can do everything instead of hiring five people. And lastly, as you said, with the seasons of the year, we're now approaching summer, which is typically a bit slower for hiring, but that's actually a great time to upskill and
Yes.
learn something, so that in September, when hiring picks up again, you have those few months until December to bring yourself out there with new skills. So actually, the summer is a really great time to upskill. It's a little bit quieter, and it's a great time to learn.
I agree. It's interesting thing you're saying too. I want to add to what you're saying. It's interesting. We also run kids programs, and then one of the things we run programs in Jewish schools and other schools in Python coding. We teach coding to kids, and in these schools. And one of the things that we're developing right now is a program called AI for Teens because we understand exactly what you're talking about. We want to get the kids. Or kids are already using Chat GPT. They're already using AI. They're already in there. But they have to like what we're teaching them is like what's under the hood, what's going on, what kind of AI do you want to design? What kind of world do you want? Because AI is a reflection of us, like in our knowledge, and we need to like, and I think kids, teens especially today, need to understand what kind of powerful tool this is and what they can do with it. And I wouldn't even actually, I want to erase that with the word tool. We actually, what we're teaching right now, we have an excellent advisory board with educators and major tech CEOs. And one of the things that we're doing is instead of looking at AI as a tool, we're looking at it as a relationship. I know it may sound like science fiction, but it's true. Like this is the right attitude, and I think and I know people say don't think of it that way. There are people who advise against that, but we're going to a place where there is, this AGI, this idea of consciousness. Because AI is making decisions. People are using
Yeah.
ChatGPT. They're using the decisions. Like they make a decision, you put something in there, but the AI is making a decision, and then you're using that decision. So you have a relationship with that. It's not just a tool.
Absolutely.
Actually, you have a relationship with it. You're like taking advice from this AI. So
Oh
it's a
yeah,
different.
I have feelings towards ChatGPT for sure. Like I say it all the time jokingly, but it's true because it gives me so much value, right? It saves so much time, the most precious resource that is not renewable, and it's just giving us time back. So I certainly feel a lot of affinity for all these tools, but it's very interesting to see how that will evolve and how it can even impact, our society in a very deep way.
It really is, and the interesting thing with the new ChatGPT is it has memory, so it will remember everything that you've said. So it's really going to get to know you very well. It's
Oh
going to
yeah.
remember all your behaviors. It's going to make your foibles, the things that you said. It's going to bring it back to you, so it
Yeah,
becomes much more personal. And I think this is where we're going in the future. And it's very interesting. Also,
absolutely.
one of the other interesting issues I want to note here is a skill that people could have, is this idea that it could use a philosophical kind of mindset. You know, you could think about it philosophically. You could think about it. AI is a tool that you could use critically. That you could use not just as a tool, but you could to think about things, to really think through things, not just to use as a tool to get things done. So I
Mm.
think people need to reframe it, and it could actually my son, one of my sons, who just who's a computer science student at York University, he's finishing up. He uses it to tutor him about coding. It's like
Hmm.
he has a relationship with it, and it helps him to think about code. It's not
Yeah,
just a tool. It's just actually like a tutor is like a partner. It's a relationship.
yeah,
I think people like the kind of courses we're teaching people how to build it, and we're teaching people how to have a relationship with it so that they can benefit from it. You'll benefit from our teachers, obviously, who know what's going on, but you also benefit from the AI, but in the relationship that you could have, because people aren't used to it right now doing it that way. Like they have can I use prompt for this or prompt for that? But that's not the right
yeah.
frame. That's nice, but it's not everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, I've known about the community tech for quite some time and about what you do. And I think that what I'm learning in this conversation is really the depth that you guys bring to the courses. And I think that people will gain more than just a skill by learning in your programs. And it feels like they're going to learn also skills for life and a
Yeah.
very useful outlook and just resources for how to make it in this ever-changing world. So I'm happy that I learned also that extra layer of depth, but also shouldn't be surprised given that it's our community and I'm a sefer, right? We
Yes.
like to learn. We're perpetual learners and we love knowledge. So this has been a pleasure speaking with you, Menachem. Is there anything you would like to leave us with? A message to the community, to prospective students at the community tech?
Sure. Don't stop learning and don't give up hope. You know, you have there's a lot there's a lot of great resources, a lot of great opportunities out there. You just have to connect with them and get and dedicate your time to them, and you will grow and things will come your way. There's a lot of things, a lot of opportunities out there, and we're here to help.
Absolutely. All right. So, in the podcast notes, you will receive all the information for how to get in touch with the community tech, all the upcoming classes, everything will be handy for you. And thank you so much, Menachem, for being with us today. And have a
Very
great
welcome.
week and day.